Welcome to Wednesday this week. I can't believe it's already Wednesday. Preparing for 2 more games this weekend, but reflecting back on last weekend, very pleased with our offensive tempo, the pace that we played at, as well as our defensive intensity and urgency. Both of those have been bullet points or key points that we've talked about and stressed in practice up until this point. So I'm really liking the carryover from practice to execution in games. And come this weekend, again, we're home, so we're very fortunate to be in that situation, but looking to continue to expand and grow those habits as we continue to push forward.
Offense scoring a lot of points here. Is it they've been responding, right on time here with what you've implemented in the offseason?
I'm very pleased with how we are passing the basketball and scoring the basketball. The 3 main points of our motion is being a willing passer, being a willing decoy, and then being a willing scorer. And I think you're definitely seeing that, as you mentioned, in the points, but more so in our assists, the number of assists we've been able to accumulate. And that's a credit to the unselfishness and really to the team chemistry that we have.
Fernandez bringing everything to the game that she showed during practice here leading up to the season?
Marina? Yeah. Yes, I think so. And at the same time, I don't think we've seen the true Marina yet. She's shown flashes of it, and then there's times where she kind of floats, and helping her through film and just additional reps, how she can be more impactful, more consistently, is an area of growth for her, but very, very pleased. I just don't think that we're quite seeing the true Marina just quite yet, which is fine.
Looking at UMass, where do they challenge you guys maybe in the matchups?
Certainly, they're 2-0, so that's a different scouting report that we've seen thus far. They've got a very good interior player in Mulligan. She'll be the biggest size we've seen thus far. Senior post player who's obviously going to have some tricks up her sleeve for our younger post group, so that'll be a challenge for us. They got a fantastic sophomore in Lydell who is a dual threat, shooting the ball very, very well from the perimeter as well as attacking and being very savvy. She's a strong guard, so that will be a nightmare, or a matchup situation that could be a nightmare, but I think with our communication and the right defensive assignments that we have on her, I think we'll be okay. But those are 2 of the players that are highlighted or keyed in the scouting report.
Do you feel like you've built some confidence coming into this one, some confidence that may be important with those matchups?
Yes, I think we do. And it's not just confidence from last weekend. It's the confidence that's been growing, since spring workouts. And that confidence comes from time in the weight room. That confidence comes from individual skill sessions and seeing those individual skills improve. And then the chemistry and just the vibe in practice. I don't know how else to articulate it, but the high fives, the unselfishness, the picking people up off the floor, the willing to step out and do whatever's asked is a huge growth from last year. And when you talk to the captains and you talk specifically to Sarah and Tyra, they'll say, well, we're just as sophomores way more comfortable and way more confident. So that's been the confidence doesn't just come from the last 2 games. It's much deeper than that in our progression and how we've continued to get better and better day by day. But very fortunate to be playing at home to continue to ride that confidence, most certainly.
With the tempo that you guys have been running, is it promising that right out of the gate they're fighting their way through that tempo for 40 minutes?
Yes, I mean, that's what we talk about. And when a drill doesn't start out that way in practice, we stop it. We have to do it again because we want to establish our pace. And that's something that will be a challenge again for us on Friday. They're going to play a 2-3 zone. They're going to want to not walk the ball up the court, but play at a slower pace than we've seen or that we want to. So the challenge of us being keyed in defensively, but then as soon as we gain possession, changing the pace back to what we want to do will be a new challenge for us.
I'd like to have some depth here. Because say, in order to run up tempo, you got to have numbers to do it. And it seems like at least in the first 2 games, numbers wise, you're anywhere from about 14 to 26 minutes that your main 10 are playing.
I like having depth, and that is the first time since I've been here that we've had this much depth. And it's to keep fresh bodies out there, but it's also, there's a big component of versatility, and many players can play with each other. And it goes back to being a willing passer, being a willing decoy, being a willing scorer that, I think you see in the first game, or in the second game, Taylor gets her second foul with 6:35 in the first quarter, and nobody panics. It's like, okay, well, next person up, our offense still moves. We still do the same thing that we've done. where in years past, or maybe on other teams, it's like, oh, your leading scorer from last year is sitting on the bench. What are you going to do? And that's not the environment, that's not the chemistry, that's not the conversation that we've had because of the depth. And that depth has started right, the first day of practice. It was very interchangeable parts. We didn't start practicing starters in a solid group until 2 days before our last game, so that we have that depth and we have that ability to play with each other regardless of who the five are.
One of the emphases is routine in the beginning part of the season. How much is that helped by the fact that you guys do have your first 3 games in the shack?
That's a big part of it. We are all creatures of habit, whether we want to admit it or not. So having a routine, building a routine, and becoming comfortable in that routine is very important. Playing at home is just one part of that. Certainly we're going to go on the road and we're going to have to figure out the routine on the road. But playing at home and providing that stability for other aspects, a new role, new minutes, a new position, things like that to take the focus, not what is the daily schedule.